Why would you have kids if we will work until we die? I think about this a lot. My mom is a wage slave. She doesn't like her job. She has sat behind a desk for 30 years. My dad owned a lawn business. He sat on a lawnmower for 35 years. Yet they decided to have children. Now I'm also doomed to live a life of mundane wage slavery. Why would you do this to someone? 60 years of hard labor? Thanks Mom and Dad. Comedian Atsuko Okatsuka says, being born is the ultimate. I thought you'd like this. I think about this so much. Tried various jobs, shift patterns etc. and the bottom line is I just don't like working. I just have to so I afford my life outside of work. I'm 29 and sick to my back teeth of wishing my life away until I can clock off. Counting down weeks until my next annual leave. Getting through the days until it's the weekend etc. I don't want children because I don't want them to feel the way I do. My partner and I plan on doing DINK to get ahead. I make $42 a year salaried at 40 hours a week. And my partner makes $20 an hour. But is looking for something more stable. But he just got a raise so he'll be sticking around a little longer. Then after a little while, we do want to adopt. But we want to adopt a kid that the foster system has failed. Kids that are maybe 6/7 plus. With us both working, our income will be too high to have the good financial aid for college if we had our own child. Even if I kept working for a university like I currently do. But, fortunately, in my state, Texas, oddly enough, tuition is waived at public universities for kids formerly in foster care for any period of time. That way, we can afford to have a child, and get them their education, and help them along the way. My dad worked his ass off, 100+ hours a week, in corporate hell to try and make sure we didn't struggle in poverty like he did. I always looked at him as my inspiration to work hard in the traditional sense. But the older I get he becomes more of an inspiration not to. Now that he's old and retired, he tells me there's no point giving your life up to the machine. Only way I'm ever having kids is if I actually have the time and resources to give them the loving home and attention they deserve. The fact that America has devolved into an anti-labor hellhole where that has become an unattainable pipe dream for most is sickening. No one has to. And if I had known we'd be here in 2022, I'd never have subjected one to this. I may not be wealthy, and I don't have tons of spare cash floating around, but that kid knows she is welcome to mooch off me until I die. She knows she never has to move out. She knows she can wait until after she's finished school to find a job. My hope is that things will have changed enough that she won't have to work a menial accounting job. Like me, I had a child because I had hope. I believed things were going to be okay. We're going to get better. That didn't happen. So all I can do is try to change it for her. I'd fight for those changes for her a hell of a lot harder than I would for me. I kinda wanted to have kids after my father died 3.5 years ago. It felt like the life force that brought me into this world went out. And you feel that. It sucks. A darker part of life, but if I have kids one day they have bury my ass like I had to bury my old man. One of my biggest reasons for not wanting kids are for selfish reasons. I want to get where I want to be and do the things I want to do. Kids will take that away from me. I'm not wealthy and I don't plan to be in a career that makes me wealthy. Just enough to live comfortably single and without kids. My life growing up was rough as hell and my parents were miserable but happy with me. It was a nice childhood, I can't complain much, but I feel so bad for my parents even if they don't know why. I love kids and I'm great with them, but if ever want one, I'll adopt. My parents worked extremely hard their whole lives. Their siblings had kids early. so my closest cousin is something like 13 years older than me. I am the only kid they had. Grew up in a rural area, so no real community or neighbor kids growing up. Only classmates my age. Never had any interaction with children beyond being goaded into holding my cousin's babies as a teen so everyone could joke about how uncomfortable I was. My wife became an aunt at 11 or so, as her 3 deadbeat half-siblings started churning them out. She hated having her teenage years co-opted as built-in babysitter. We're in our late 30s now, and never wanted children. Of course this comes with blowback from family and disappointed parents. All our friends with kids live with their parents or have them nearby as live-in babysitters. Their retirement is being spent as de facto daycare. The term, wage slave, really opened my eyes and I first heard it years ago. It's really is working until you die for the bulk of our generation. We made the right choices for us. Work sucks, but the days off are ours. We volunteer for our local animal shelter when we can, and can make spontaneous plans for things we otherwise wouldn't be able to do. Turned into a huge story. But I get where you're coming from, and why it's been said, millennials are ruining birth rates. Traditional family models aren't the only ones that can satisfy you in life. Screw having kids if you don't want to. Will certainly make life more financially viable. That is why I just made an appointment for a vasectomy next week. Having kids. I ain't bringing no kid to a world where they will make someone get richer and they stay the same. No. Happy child-free over here. We feel like we pressed the easy button. We would have struggled if we had kids early in our marriage. We never had money for anything and going down to one income wasn't even in the question, so we opted out. Instead, we both went back to school. Now we are in our early 40s and love our auntie and uncle status. Best life ever. This is why I will never have kids. I have thought about it. Just turned 35 and I could still pop one out. But I want to do what I want when I am 50, and bringing a child into this world just seems cruel. I don't struggle, but who says they wouldn't? I'm choosing not to have kids. We have this choice now. It's the modern day. Work is supposed to be about earning money, which is used to purchase things that you cannot trade for. This sick society we live in has us trapped by mortgages and debt. We have all we want to eat, yet we are now slaves? How did we get tricked into this? I would rather be poor and earn enough to have a roof and food over my head so I can focus on living life to the fullest. But that has been made impossible by crony capitalism and competition? I don't want to compete for a mortgage and a house and a job working for some a-holes. But if I don't compete, I end up in suffering by default. I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm not having kids. I think about the future of that little child. How I will be passing on generations of trauma, mental illness, and physical illness. I don't want to birth a child just to hand them suffering. And this is suffering outside of our current political climate. So they'll double suffer in 10 years. I would feel guilty having children. I supply my kids with a house and food. They never won't have that. I support my kids' dreams. They can do whatever they want. My husband and I aren't rich, but we had 2 kids because we can financially support 2 and give them a nice life. I agree with you 100% politically, but others here are correct in noting that it's possible to find happiness even within this exploitative system. And in fact, many people do. That's not to justify the system or discourage acting to change it, but to say that you can also be happy. Many people are happy. Many people live in poverty and have children, and those children are happy too. It's not because they're delusional, but because they can find meaning even within this bad, horrible situation. If you feel like you can't, You're not alone. But finding ways to do it will improve your time here on Earth. I was forced to get a job halfway through high school. Folks said it was to teach me about responsibility. My grades at school went from straight A's to middling C's. Parents had no idea why my grades kept slipping. I wasn't allowed to participate in school activities I was interested in, like the school newspaper, drama club, etc. Things didn't get any better when I went to college. I had to work full-time on top of going to school just so I could keep my bills paid. I never graduated. People don't realize how good they have it by being able to go to school and actually build a life for themselves. I made a comment weeks ago on someone who had numerous kids and was complaining they couldn't afford to put their kids in any activities or go on trips, etc. I basically said, well, why don't you stop at 5 kids for now until you are more financially stable? Even then I think that number of kids is a bit much. But I didn't say that. Didn't matter, I got downvoted to oblivion and told it's none of my damn business how many kids they are having. Yay, I agree it's not. But these kids certainly weren't in an ideal situation. Yeah. I grew up in a world where normal was we're supposed to graduate high school, get a job, buy a house and move out. If you wanted to join the military, cool. If you want to make more money, go to college. Then make babies. Those were the only options I knew of as a teen. At 37 I'll be the last person to have my family name. Between student debt, the Great Recession, and COVID recession, there's no way I'd bring a child into this life. I still don't own a home. Having a tiny house I can tow on a trailer is more realistic for me. Not sure there's room for a crib.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.